I'm here with Wade Lightheart, who is co-founder and president of BioOptimizers. Thanks for doing this, Wade. Your history is pretty interesting, to say the least. You've been in the fitness industry your entire life, and certainly been around diet and fitness. So you're an expert. I was wondering, from people who have been on your side with the expertise that you have, what do you think people get wrong about, well, I'll say diet and fitness, but start with fitness. What do you think the average person just gets, the misconceptions, what they get wrong about fitness?
Oof. It's a lot. First thing is they equate fitness with health. I think that's mistake number one. Fitness is the capability to do work, and it's usually related to a sport, or it could be related to an aesthetic ideal. So a football player who might be a lineman might be very fit relative to his position at 20% body fat. He needs 20% body fat to endure the beatings. He might have probably on the abnormal levels of strength, okay, and probably foot speed, okay? So from a standpoint of the definitions of what it takes to be a professional, he's very fit for that position. A cover model for a fitness magazine or publication or Instagram may have a body fat at 10 or 11% as a female, which is very low on the spectrum. She might look really good, and she might be on a series of thyroid medications or anabolics or some sort of metabolism things to keep that body fat level. You might have a Lance Armstrong situation. Extraordinary fit, and the guy ended up with cancer. So what oftentimes we associate with the external idea of fitness, or whatever the parameters relative to our sport, but oftentimes many of the people that we look up to are compromising their health to get there. And so health means the overall system, internal, external, mental, emotional, physical, all of those combined is what we are searching for, to like an optimized human. In other words, your capability to manage a variety of situations. As Darwin suggested, you're very adaptable, and that means you are a truly fit person. I think so definition and assumptions are things that people get wrong, and I made that mistake early in my career.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. So do you think people generally, well, they're sort of left on their own, or maybe they're not left on their own? Are they misguided about diet and fitness? And if so, where do you put the responsibility of being misguided? Do you think the medical world is giving us advice saying, listen, what you think is fit is just what you think it looks like? Or are they misguided elsewhere?
I think there's a misappropriation of authority and information sources. And so, for example, in a place like the United States, we hold our medical institutions, whether it's the Johns Hopkins University, Harvard Medical, you could go on to Cleveland Clinic, you can go on down the list of those things, as the gold standards within our medical system. But what people don't understand is that medical system is a farm system that is brought forth. Our best, our brightest, and most dedicated people are put into an education system that ultimately issues pharmaceutical solutions to treat the symptoms of disease. That is the New England Journal of Medicine definition, which says, hey, we do not cure disease. We provide treatment for the symptoms of disease, okay? So in other words, our medical system is based on when you get sick, when you get diabetes, when you get heart disease, and it's really good at that. It's really good at dealing with things once you've got them in a short care, car accidents, surgeries, anything that's life-threatening in the moment. What it is not taught, nor should it be given any credence or authority to, is the care and function of the physique, or our health, nutrition, exercise, performance, mental health, the practices that are around that. Now, combine that with a rapidly changing society, massive technological innovation, which has transformed our society over the last, say, 3 generations, since World War II, essentially, since the baby boom, that we've radically departed from any historical examples that we have as humans. And so what we have, we didn't have to worry about fitness for most of history. You just living, everything was manual labor. You had a whole thing. You were working out and exercising.
It wasn't an option.
Wasn't an option.
Yeah.
You didn't have to worry about chemicals in your food. You didn't have to worry about additives in the food or preservatives or dyes or refined sugars or refined wheats or overconsumption of food. There just wasn't enough food, and there was certainly not these array of chemicals to deal with that we now have to deal with today. We were outdoors in the fresh air, drinking fresh water. So many of the practices today that need to be advocated and integrated into the technological world were just assumptive lifestyle practices for most of history. So we have to overcome our sense of efficiency. So technology, our ability to preserve energy, is what separates humans from other species. In other words, we conscientiously develop technology that saves the expansion of life force energy, machines, technology, all this stuff. We've gotten so good at that our efficiency mechanisms and our energy preserving mechanics, which is a survival instinct, is actually what's killing us through sedentary lifestyles, factory chemicalization of foods, and a misguided appropriation to authorities whose job is to keep us alive, not to keep us healthy and fit.
So now more than ever, you have to consciously build diet and fitness. It's just not. It's not part. To your point, which is completely accurate. I think people oftentimes don't want to hear it, but it used to be part of your day, whether you wanted to or not. You had no option, but you were going to, by default, get fit. Now you better build it into your day because you're doing what I'm doing. You're sitting around a good chunk of the day.
100%. And this is something that needs to be taught within the home, and it needs to be bolstered in our education system, both at the elementary, primary levels, high school point, but particularly post. And that needs to be something also with employers and higher education systems, that we put fitness above and beyond academics.
It's been a way of life for you. And as you know, once you're there, it becomes part of your life. It's programmed in. You don't feel right if you're not doing it. How do you suggest people, because everything, as you know, becomes a habit. I mean, staying fit becomes a habit. It's just a way of life. You feel terrible otherwise if you're not doing it. Some of us would go crazy if we couldn't go and get some exercise. How best do you suggest someone that goes from that sedentary problem that we all need to own to getting started? Because that's a terrifying, daunting task, as you know.
Well, there's 2 things that people need to do. Is they need to get a proper assessment where they are at. Go into a facility and see where you come in on the bell curve. What's your body fat level? What's your flexibility? What's your health markers, your biomarkers, your chance for disease, your chance for a disability adjusted life expectancy, which is now at 60 in the United States. I mean, Matt, you'll spend the last 20 years of your life, a quarter of your life, on some sort of compromised way of life. And you need to get a basic assessment of where you are by qualified professionals. The second thing that you need to do is you need to ask yourself some questions that most people aren't comfortable asking themselves. What is the trend that I'm currently on? And what is the cost of that trend going to be? Not just to me. What happens if I get sick? How does that impact my wife? How does that impact my kids? Will I get to see my grandkids? Will I be able to play the way that I want to do? How much will that impact my performance, my economic reality, my insurances? How much time do I want to spend in hospitals or in medications and stuff? And we need to do a better job at sharing with people the cost of not doing, both financially and socially and emotionally. Now, once you get clear about those, then you can leverage the most powerful component that you have access to, and that is your emotional spirit. The fact is, when your why, and that doesn't have to be, and generally logic isn't enough to do it. Humans have, if we watch a football game, or we watch a sporting event, or we watch our kids go up on stage and at the school play, there is an emotional energy that we have access to that we will go to the end of the world with. It's not logical, it's not rational, it's not reasonable. You need to leverage that energy to support the logic so that you will continue to do the things that are very hard long after you've committed to doing them. And that's where a qualified professional in your life that is going to give you direct feedback and accountability in your life to get you going till you get enough momentum that it becomes a process that you continue to do, because the consequences of going off it, you feel worse than if you're doing it. And for some people, they need more input and some people need less, and you have to be realistic of where you are at and what you require in order to do that.
I think we could turn everything and start the same discussion about, your world, supplements. And I think a lot of people can relate to the scenario. Most of us can. As you age, it's not that one hard workout once or twice a week and being miserable the rest of the week. It's the ability to do one after another, after another, after another. It's the whole recovery thing. I've learned as I've aged that supplements are a part of it. Because you want to be able to exercise regularly. You want to be able to train regularly. You want to be able to do it more often. I see so many people that can go hard 1 or 2 days, and then, after you get past 40, it's brutal to recover. Talk about supplements in that world and people finding ways to be more knowledgeable about supplements because we get it from every direction. And I think people just end up being confused.
Great question. And this is something that I think I always suggest, and I own a supplement company, I'll be straight up about that, but you cannot supplement your way out of a bad lifestyle, nor can a great lifestyle be optimized without the right supplements. And why would I say that? Well, every diet and every fitness strategy has advantages and disadvantages. And you have to couple that over your genetic and epigenetic responses. And your genetics means that you have an ability to absorb some vitamins and minerals and essential components easier than others. You will do better on some diets than you will do on others. You are more suited for different types of exercise. Your exercise and your nutrition and your supplementation should be built around your individual genetics. Now, this wasn't possible 20, 30 years ago. It is possible now, and that's why you have guys like Tom Brady, who is 44 years old and throwing Super Bowls and slinging it. Why? Because he has experts that are giving him minute-to-minute feedback, very, very short accountability loops that he's monitoring all the time. So what are the things that people need to monitor off the first before going to supplements? What I would suggest, and because we're into biological optimization, number one, you want to knock out the big things first. So get a genetics test, which will determine what are your predispositions, and have someone look at epigenetic trips. And epigenetics is the lifestyle factors that will trigger both positive or negative response from your genetics. So maybe your family has heart disease or blood sugar issues or whatever. Well, you might be predisposed to that, but through lifestyle choices, through diet choices, through exercise choices, that gene will not become active, or will be activated way later down the line than it would be if you didn't. Next thing, look at your hormones. You can do the Dutch test, and that will give a ratio of your hormones, what's off, what's not off, what are things that you can do and not do. Then you would look at the big ones. Pulse test, which will determine your heart. Is that damaged? Is it going to be a problem for you? A HOMO-IR test, which is a blood sugar, glucose, insulin management, so that you can say, because that's heart disease is the big killer. Then you got diabetes, okay? Genetics which is carcinogenic things. Hormones play a role inside of that. And then I would look at look at a fitness test, like a DEXA scan, where you're checking bone density, you're checking muscle mass to body fat ratio. Because if you look at every illness, high body fat levels and low muscle mass are the two indicators that create comorbidities for just about everything. They're also contributing factors for early death. In other words, if you have high levels of muscle mass, good bone density, and low body fat levels, your chance of living long, or the upper end of the spectrum for humans, is really, really good. And so by addressing those issues with blood sugar, heart disease, hormone health, body fat percentage, and your genetics, now you have a framework to work from. There's one more test that you want to get specific on supplements. It's called the SpectraCell test. SpectraCell test will identify, they take your blood, they spin it, and they see not only the supplements that you're lacking in, but what ones you might have trouble absorbing. So then you can target specifically the supplements that are right for you, and they're going to be different for you than they are for your wife or maybe for your kids. Now, you'll do one of those series of tests maybe once every 5 years. Cost you probably somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000. But what you will save in doing the wrong things, the wrong exercise, the wrong health test, the wrong supplements will more than pay for yourself. Not to mention the effectiveness you'll get from all your supplements will be amplified exponentially because they're the exact thing that you need for your body and your health.
Yeah, that some of us have done all that, and you're exactly right. I've heard that from medical professionals when they, people that are on the testing side of it would say, trust me, over the next 3 years, everything you're about to learn is going to be the most cost-effective thing that you do. Are you vegetarian?
I am.
Give someone advice that is terrified. One, they just don't want to do it. But number two, some people that want to do it and go, I know how good, this Wade guy knows what he's talking about. I know it would be good for me, but I'm terrified. I won't get enough protein. I won't get enough whatever. I'll be tired all the time. So to talk somebody over that curve of being okay with that kind of diet.
Yeah, great question. And I would also say that I'm dietary agnostic. My business partner is a ketogenic guy.
Okay.
What I found when I went to a plant-based diet about 20 years ago, simply because I had experimented it with for meditation practices, I thought I'd give it a try.
Yeah.
It really agreed with me for whatever reason. I tried it for 2 weeks. I went for 2 weeks more. I went for another month. I said, I think I'm done with meat. The most surprising thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. I'm still overwhelmed by it. I don't think it's an easy route to go. I think you have to be a little bit more conscientious because the availability of high quality vegetarian products are not the same as they are for maybe, if you're a non-veg person. So that's caveat number one. Caveat number two is you need a gradual integration to adjust to a higher fiber diet. Now, people are concerned about not getting enough protein. And I would say, well, who says just because you eat a lot of meat that you're getting enough protein? We don't need protein. We need the amino acids from protein. Now, all plants actually have all of the essential amino acids. They talk about complete proteins. Our body can make most of them. There's 8 of them that they can. And all plants have those. So we are very well suited for a plant-based diet. In order for that to work, though, you need to have what's called a microbiome, the good bacteria inside your system that will be fed sufficiently enough that it will convert whatever protein you eat into the building blocks or energy units. That's the same if you're on a meat-eating diet, a pescatarian diet, a plant-based diet, a carnivore diet, whatever it happens to be. And there are times and places for all of those diets. So for me, I really concentrated on making sure I was getting enough protein and that I had the elements, enzymes, hydrochloric acid, and probiotics that were converting the protein I was eating into the amino acids to fill my body, to make my brain chemicals work properly. And I made some mistakes. When early on, there wasn't good plant-based protein. So there wasn't great vegetarian product. Like, it was tough. 20 years ago, it was real tough. It's much easier than it is today. And, I developed products and services in order to support that for the plant-based market. And I was able to do it at a high level. I was able to compete at the Mr. Universe contest, eating 85 grams of protein a day, My competitors were eating 250. However, I was probably extracting the same amount of amino acids as they were because I had superior digestive capabilities than my competitors. And I think that's allowed me to live long and strong since that time. So those are the fundamentals for
yeah, no, it's a great story. I appreciate the time. It's Wade Lightheart. He is co-founder and president of BioOptimizers. Great products, by the way. Thanks for doing this. Good advice. Great advice.
My pleasure, and I would encourage everybody, if they want to find out more, they can come to BioOptimizers. I have an awesome health course I give away for free, which are the fundamentals of health and lifestyle. I give it away because it eliminates the confusion and allows you to put first principles first. Supplements don't come till level 5 in the education. It's simple, it's easy, and you're available at BioOptimizers.
All right, great. Wade, thank you.
Thank you very much.